Have you ever fought addiction, or maybe you have a friend who's currently stuck in it? How do we help them? Join us today as we talk with our dear friend and her friend about the struggles of addiction.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Shield Maidens podcast. This is the place where we hope you'll come to be raised up to be a warrior for Christ, while also learning how to fight back against the enemy. And the whole time, we really just want to point you to Jesus. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Riley.
We're your hosts. Thanks for being here today and listening in. We have a really great conversation and story happening today that we think that you'll really enjoy. Before we do that, though, please go ahead and subscribe, like, share, comment on our things on YouTube. We would love that. And then leave us a review on the audio only podcast if that's where you're listening. That'll help us spread the word. So, so we can get down to our conversation.
Yeah.
We have two friends with us today. We have Stephanie and Christina, and we're so glad that you guys are here.
They're actually our friends.
They're
better friends together.
They're better friends together. Yes, you guys have a long history.
Yeah.
And we'll let them introduce yourselves if you
about
want
who you
before
are.
we start. But just tell us who you are,
Okay.
what you do, whatever. So
Okay, I'm Stephanie, and I am a mom, and I am an accountant, and I've known Christina since, we were in second grade, the same second grade class.
really,
Oh,
didn't know that.
Our teacher used to get us mixed up because we had the same haircut.
Oh,
Yep.
that's cute.
And then, so we went to school together, until high school. And I don't know when we became friends, but sometime maybe middle school we started. Yeah. And we've been friends ever since.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a long
Actually,
friendship.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Sweet.
yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Christina, you want to?
I'm Christina Hitchcock, and married to a wonderful husband and 3 kids. Steph said we've known each other since probably kindergarten, but
Wow.
the second grade teacher got us mixed up. But we've been friends ever since, and happy to be here with her.
Awesome. And Christina is part of the
crew.
Yes, our crew, our Hitchcock Visuals
Yes.
crew. So we've got you in a different spot
like the
today.
mom of
Yeah,
our
this is-
podcast.
She is
This
the
is
mom.
fun being in
She
this
keeps
seat.
us in line.
Keeps us
She
on
keeps us
track.
on
That's
track.
right.
She takes our pictures. Yeah,
does.
she's the mom.
We love her.
And our cheerleader. She's our cheerleader
And
too.
now we get to
So-
talk to her.
I know.
Yay.
I know. Well, thanks for coming today, ladies. We appreciate it. I know it's hard to switch to be in front of the camera too. So, but we wanted to have both of you on. We know that, Stephanie, you have a story of addiction in your life that you've overcome, which is incredible. And we wanted to have Christina just to have her point of view as your lifelong friend, right? As someone, because addiction is so common. So many people deal with it, or they have someone that they love struggling with it. And so we really just kind of wanted to get your story and see what God's done in your life and get your perspective, Christina, maybe as her friend.
Sure.
Yeah. Does that sound good? So
here for
wherever you
moral
want to,
support.
Yeah. So let's say, Steph, we'll just start with you.
Okay.
Tell us your story.
Okay.
yeah, wherever you want to start.
Well, I was born and raised here in Evansville, Indiana, and my parents divorced. My biological father and my mother divorced before I even turned 1. She remarried, and I call him my dad. They've been married ever since, and so I grew up still going between 2 homes. We went to my biological father's every other weekend. So that was a struggle. He had some problems, which is part of my story, but he was bipolar. And when I would stay with him, I didn't really understand, like, he slept all the time. He didn't know really how to be a dad. He did the best he could with what he had. So at some point in high school, I had to go in front of a judge and him and tell them I didn't want to see him anymore. So
That's hard.
yeah. So from that time on, after I graduated high school, he had come to my graduation. I kind of I kept, we had a strange relationship, I guess. But we'd be close for a little bit, and then it was odd. When he passed away, I found out that he was a drug addict and a pretty intensive drug addict. So had I known, it probably would have helped me, years ago. But at some point in high school, I never really felt like I belonged because I didn't have my mom and dad together. They were two different lifestyles, completely different lifestyles. My mom raised us. We went to church every Sunday. Our grades had to be, if they weren't A's, B's were okay. But I mean, she had a lot of expectations.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes she put more on me than my sister just because she was afraid I was going to turn out like my father. So I had to play the piano, the viola, the saxophone, be in the National Honor Society, marching band.
Ooh, you were busy.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah, the honors orchestra. It was a lot, and I never felt like I could just be
A
a
kid.
teenager.
Yeah.
So a lot of times that would lead me to be defiant because I felt so controlled, and so I would, make poor decisions. At some point, I got into their liquor cabinet, and this is when it started. I don't know, I might have been 14 or 15, and had my first drink, and I realized how good it felt. How good it felt to not be me. Numbed the pain that I didn't really know I had. So from then on, I drank when I could, and then when I graduated high school, I was supposed to go to DePauw. My mom wanted me to go there. It's a good school. I could be somewhere totally different. But I backed out the week before and went to USI with my friends that were, my high school friends. And then I found alcohol all the time. Yeah. So alcohol has been a huge part of my story because I just love the way it made me feel. I can't pinpoint the time when I realized that, I don't know that I ever realized I was an alcoholic or addict until my last, until I decided I wanted recovery. But, alcohol a lot of times would lead to situations in which there were other substances available. And I would find myself running around with groups of people that were not necessarily solid friends. Christina and I, throughout the years, would, most of the time, whenever I was like on a good spiral, we'll say, not drinking all the time, Christina and I would hang out. But she was a part of my good, solid group of friends, and then I had my other friends who were not. I could never figure out where I belonged, and so I was trying to fit in with everyone that I could. So, let's see. Yeah, so we'll fast forward some time. I ended up getting married, and I did graduate with I got my bachelor's in accounting. But he and I were miserable from the day we got married. I felt like I needed to marry him to fit into what my mom's criteria would have been. Plus she had already planned the wedding. So I decided, I told myself, you will fall in love with him. You will make this work, And it wasn't a year after we got married that we were both drinking every single day, just trying to deal with each other and handle each other. And so at one point I didn't want to get a divorce. I did not want that stigma, but I did not want to stay in that relationship. He was pretty emotionally abusive. I'm sure I was too. So I started hanging out with friends all hours of the night and using other substances to, to accompany my drinking because I just didn't want to feel that pain. So finally we got divorced, and then through the divorce, I still felt like a failure. So I continued using and drinking. Even though I was out of that marriage, I continued to use and drink. And at one point, after, a good solid year or two of drinking and using and not being healthy, I ended up in the hospital with pneumonia. And the pneumonia turned sepsis. So yeah, it happened fast. And so they had to put me in an induced coma for 2 weeks, I believe. And then on a vent for 2 weeks, I believe, in an induced coma for 3. I don't remember. And then I had to go to physical therapy and learn, like, my muscles had atrophied. So I had to learn how to walk again, and I had to learn how to do a lot of the things, like put socks on, because mentally I knew how, but my body couldn't do it anymore because I had been in a hospital bed for so long. Christina was there. She was there with my mom, helping her through it all. You know, my family had known that I was using and had kind of tried to just push me away. My mom's tough love, you know. But after that, you know, I got my head clear, and for a while went to a drug rehabilitation center, and then I stayed away from drugs and alcohol for a while. But I guess they didn't pick up that really I couldn't drink anymore. I knew, like, okay, these drugs are not good, you know, but you can't, I guess I just never thought about you can't drink anymore. You know, drinking is a drug for
It's
people
just
who,
socially acceptable.
right, yeah.
Right.
And for people who have, you know, the disease of addiction or alcohol, I mean, any mind altering substance, we just we can't do. I never understood why people could go and have a drink at dinner and then just have one. Like, to me, that was weird. I couldn't just have one. And so after I got better, you know, I got married and I had a baby boy. And after I had him, my husband at the time had started drinking, and he brought bad things around. And I can't believe I made the decision. Once I have one beer, one drink of alcohol, my inhibitions are out the window. And so I made another poor choice, and I wanted to save our marriage. And so I didn't, you know, before you know, you're spiraling out of control, and you think nobody knows, and nobody is going to, you know, nobody's going to see what I'm doing. And au contraire, my mom knew right away, and she went and got my son from daycare one day, the same day that I lost my job, because apparently my boss knew too. And that very same day, we were buying a house from my parents, and they told us to get out. So all in one day, which is both the worst day of my life and the best day of my life, my son got taken away, and then my house, pretty much my husband, because he wasn't going to stop using, which I didn't know that particular day. But I lost my job. You know, I had pretty much had my car. But once my son got taken away, you know, that was it. That was all I need. You know, that was my wake up call. It wasn't being in the hospital and learning how to, you know, barely making it. You know, I had a 60% chance of surviving. It was this child that I gave birth to, that God gave me, that made me realize, you know, I don't have a choice. And so at that point, my family was not talking to me at all. You know, they had my son, but they were not having anything to do with me. And we had to go to court, and there was a guardianship issue, or, you know, they wanted guardianship. And in order to get him back, I had to do several things, but obviously I had to stop using, stop drinking. And then I also needed to go and pass several drug tests, you know, and immediately I did. I walked into a 12-step program, and they suggest 90 meetings in 90 days, and I did it. Every day for 90 days, I made my own little, you know, a lot of people that have to for the courts have their own little printout that they have to have signed. I made my own and had them sign it just because, for accountability. I then got a job and started working really hard, and then I ended up getting a divorce because my husband was not going to quit. He expected me to quit so we could get our son back, and that wasn't going to fly. So, so we got a divorce, and thank God we did, because he is not in my son's life. He is away. He is a ward of the state, if you will. And so my son doesn't really know him either. And that's been I mean, my son was 6 months old when this all happened. I guess I should have said that, 6 months old. So at 9 months old, I got him back, but those 3 months, I mean, I'll never
long
forgive
3 months.
myself. It is 3 important long months, but luckily I got to visit with him whenever he was with my parents or his other set of grandparents. I got to visit with him, but when you can't spend the night next to your baby boy, it's really, really hard. So after I got divorced, I continued to, go to the 12-step program. I still to this day am in the 12-step program. I just had picked up 9 years. So yeah,
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. I've made several friends in the rooms, and I am so grateful for the establishment of the 12-step programs that are available to us. And, a lot of people get to go away to treatment or, go to these fancy resort treatment, and I didn't. My option was like the Warm Center, which is nice. It's a place where women go to get, their lives back together. I was fortunate enough to not have to go move and live somewhere else. My dad did help me get an apartment, and then I was able to do this on my own. And I'm so grateful for the power that God gave me to keep going, because there's nothing worse than, to me, there's nothing worse than sitting in an empty apartment without your child, with your husband, your whole ideal of your family, and where you're going in life is completely gone. You don't have the job that you really enjoyed. It was a very low point, but it was also, I needed it so bad. And I don't want to say I'd do it again, but I wouldn't trade that day. February 13th, 2016. And, I can't say enough positive things since then about all of the changes that I've made in my life. I converted to Catholicism. I grew up Methodist, but I converted to Catholicism because I wanted my son to be raised in a Christian-based church. And so I converted to Catholicism, and I was working the steps, which one of the closest times I've ever felt to God was when I was going through that RCIA program, which is the convert program. I can't even put into words how amazing that program was, and I just felt at peace. Finally, I felt like I knew God. I did have a relationship with him since I was younger, but I think as we grow, our relationship changes with God. Our understanding of what He is and what He does and how powerful He is in our lives. And that being said, sometimes it's easy to forget, and that's another reason that I'm very active still in the 12-step program, because when I go in there and I see people coming in the rooms that are, fresh off the streets, and or women who lost their children and want them back so bad, and I can feel that. And that reminds me of how lucky I am to have come as far as I have, and then also be their support and promise that you can be where I am now. So in the last 9 years, I've gotten my master's degree in accounting, and awesome. I've got my job back that I lost. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep. He asked me to come back after he realized it's kind of the same industry that I was working in, and after a year of being in there, he had heard that I was there and doing really well, so called and asked me to come back and so I've been there since, and now I am the CFO and soon to be vice president, because they're growing, so that's really exciting. I've been growing with this company since 2013, and I call that Old Testament. And then whenever I came back, it was the New Testament. Yep. So I have been growing with the company ever since, and I pride myself on my work there. And I never call in sick. I used to call in sick all the time whenever I was, not in the best mindset. And my son goes to Good Shepherd, and so he's in a Catholic school, and he's doing well. I couldn't be happier with his school. So we've been truly blessed, and that little boy, he saved my life, and so I am so grateful that God let me be his mom. And I don't know what I'd do without him. So, yeah. And I also met an amazing man in the rooms, and he's almost 9 years. In April, he'll have 9 years. And it's amazing to find someone who understands where you've been and the things you've been through. And he's a phenomenal father, and he is to my son, in absence of my son's own father right now. He loves him like his own 2 kids. And, I never thought that in my 40s I would find everything I thought I would get in my 20s, everything I prayed for, but I never gave up. And, it's never too late. And I'm glad that I did. And I'm grateful for the struggles, because it made me realize how great life is, how good God is. And that I'm never alone, because I have him. I wasn't alone when I felt so alone, because he was there, even when I didn't know. I didn't think to know. And I've had some amazing friendships. I'm one of the lucky ones that had a good, solid group of friends that did not make the poor choices that I did, and that I still get to call friends today. A lot of people that have the unfortunate, they're unfortunate, their family, might all be alcoholics and drug addicts, their friends, that's all they know. So when they get clean or stop drinking, they don't have anywhere to turn to. And I have been so lucky that people like Christina have, she's been patient with me. She's never, when I was in, the depths and the throes of bad places and my addiction, of course, she needed to step away for her own good, but she never stopped loving me and being on my side, never judged me. And I'm truly blessed for her and for that. And she's bringing me closer to God still today, which I'm so grateful for. I got really lucky with that as well, and I'm grateful that she is here with me today and still with me after all these years, over 40 years. And we've met some amazing friends together, just like today. And so life is good, God is good, and I'm very blessed.
The whole time I just kept thinking, I don't want to cry, but God just takes all of these broken things and redeems them and makes them beautiful. He's restored things with, your family, your friends, your son. Now you have a loving relationship. And I know life isn't about, those things, but that is part of life. And he's just so good. To never leave us. The Bible says he never leaves us, never forsakes us. So even in your absolute lowest moment, the day that you talked about, he was with you in it.
Yep. And in the 12-step programs too, you may be familiar with the steps, the 12 steps. And one of those is to give it to God. This is God's will, not your will anymore. And to turn it over. And that made, it's when you have to think through that process and write through that process, it really hits home. If I have a problem, I don't have to handle this by myself. I can give it to God. And, admitting you have a problem and then giving it to God. Those are the second, third steps. And those are some of the, the biggest steps, in order to recover. And those steps also saved my life, because you work through them and you realize that you're powerless, and you need someone there to take it from you. And that's where God's will comes in, not my own. I've been really lucky to be able to work through those and understand those steps and use them.
That was evident in what you said. I don't think I would want to do that again, but I'm grateful for that day and that struggle. Just that you can say that means that it's not your burden to carry anymore. And that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
He's so good at cleaning up the messes we make.
Yeah. And forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
Forgiveness
Yes.
and healing. Because, any story I hear of addiction, and it just everyone, we all have broken pieces of us, things that happen in our families, in our past, traumas, all the things that lead down a path to what we choose to do. Right. But he can heal even the broken pieces that led us to that point.
Yep. And even come out better.
And even come out better. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone to my father's grave and I wrote him a note and put it there, and forgave him and asked for him to forgive me, because I didn't know what he was struggling with, and another beautiful thing is, I don't want to say I was judgmental before, but I look at everyone the same now. We are all God's children, and we don't know what the other person's struggling with. I used to judge, maybe the man on the corner, like, get a job. In my head, that's what I would think. Who knows? Maybe he tried, maybe he's got a drug addiction. Nobody has showed him how to get to the right place to get help, or they haven't met God. Whatever it might be, I no longer spend any of my time thinking I can judge anyone. And that's a huge lesson I've learned too.
It's a gift.
Yes, it is, to not feel like I am different, better, worse than anyone. Because for years I thought I was, not good enough. I mean, I have even a book that I've read by my therapist recommended called Not Good. You're not good enough, because I never thought I was good enough for my mom, or I never thought I was good enough to be friends with these people, and I am, and I know I am, and we all are, So there's been a lot of amazing lessons that I've learned over the years, just by having a clean head, realizing that life without brain-altering chemicals or mind-altering chemicals is amazing. And even though I've lost people that I'm very close to, since I got clean, I've gotten through those without having to, numb the pain. But I've also got to, I felt the bad, but I felt the good, and my son never has to know me as anything but this. Yeah, so, yeah.
You said you started the first drink, it made you feel not like yourself, like it felt good because it was like not like me, but it just
the things.
it just came to my mind. But that's such an artificial freedom, and really now for the last 9 years, you've been completely free.
Yep.
Like, how much better is it to actually be yourself as opposed to the altered version?
I'm learning myself still every day. In the first few years, I just couldn't. I never knew who I was. I didn't know what I was good at, or my positive. My. I just, there's goods, there's bads, and it's another thing that steps do is they try to get the bads out. Reservations, things like that, and you get it out in a paper, and then you work on those things. But you also learn about your goods. Your positive traits, and things I like that I didn't know I liked, things I don't like that I thought I liked. And who I really, really am. And I have found that I am good, and I do have a good heart. I made bad decisions, very bad decisions, and a lot of people do. It's unfortunate, and I pray that they can find themselves and appreciate life without a chemical, because it can be good. And sometimes it used to seem like, oh, I can't get through this. I won't be able to survive without, doing something to my brain so that I don't feel it. But feelings can be good. They're hard.
Oh, yes.
They can be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they teach us something, and if they point us to the Father, which is, I think, is probably what they're intended to do, right? Like,
Probably so.
sadness, all of it, the good and the things that we think of as negative. Like, if we can use that to point us to God and draw us to Him instead of numbing it.
Yeah.
And people numb with all sorts of things, not just drugs or alcohol, food, shopping, gambling, sex, everything.
Yep.
Like
Sugar.
Yeah. I mean, really, like, truly, like, there are all sorts of things we can turn anything into.
Yeah.
An idol or an addiction. So,
Yeah. Anything to get your mind off of the problem.
Of the pain. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've learned that it never gets better when you're using drugs or alcohol. It only prolongs it, makes it worse. So, the feelings have been phenomenal too. Even the hurt sometimes.
Yeah.
Even I get to be here to cry with my cousins who just lost their mom. It's a horrible time, but I get to be there and present with them and feel what they're feeling, and, be the cousin that I should have been years ago, try to make up for that lost time. Be the daughter I should have been, the sister. I've been lucky to know, I've worked the amends and I've gone through my amends, and they've all gone great. I've lived the amends, but I've talked with my mom and my sister and several times over the years, and my dad, and just let them know how grateful I am that they did what they did. My mom just shut me out. Tough love. I'm not giving you anything. And I'm so grateful for that, because if she had, I don't know if I'd be here. If she had kept, gave me a house and money and food, that's not what I needed. I needed everyone to leave me and show me what life was like without anyone. That's when I reached out to God.
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Christina, from your perspective as a friend, did you have to set boundaries? I mean, I know you didn't have charge of her house and her food, but what kind of things did you have to do as a friend?
So first off, I'm so proud of you. And I have seen.
Sorry. I want to cry.
So the time that I did step away, I didn't see all the bad. So from our relationship from the beginning, and then now, it hasn't really, you're back. And I never really, I tried to help, and it was so hard to know that I could not do one thing for you, because you had to be ready yourself. And I think as a friend, that's the hardest part, because you're like, I want to help. Come on, Steph, just stop.
Let's get it together.
And you can't. And there were many times where I tried with one of our other friends, Christy, and we couldn't do a thing. And you had to be ready. And so that time I did step away in our friendship, but I was always praying. And I knew that sometime it would be the right choice. And when I saw you in the hospital, I thought that was it. And I mean, you didn't say this part, but you had died for a few minutes on the table.
Well, that's a big part.
And I thought that was the rock bottom. That had to be the rock bottom. And it wasn't. And it was what your mom and dad did that turned things around by doing the tough love. And as you know, that's amazing. But I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
You are such an awesome mom. And you were a single mom for a long time. And even when you were married, you were not married to the right person.
No.
So you did amazing. And just where you are today. I mean, you're the CFO of a company.
That's pretty big.
And for you to be where you were and where you are now, God, that's God. So.
Yeah, and he put you in my life so many years ago to be there for whenever I decided, this is enough, know, and you were still there. And that helped so much, because having friends with, good, solid hearts, they're not easy to find. So, yeah.
I know. I've been trying not to cry the whole time.
Right.
And I thought there were tissues. I'm sorry. That's what I'm reaching for. Usually we have tissues. And I saw they're not down there. And I'm like, oh no.
Not to have tissues.
Hold it together over here. But thank you both for sharing just all of that. I wanted to ask, and I don't know if you even have an answer for this, but for someone who might be listening who either they're in the midst of addiction, or you have someone you love, friend, family, whatever, that's in the midst of it. Because like I said earlier, it's just so common. It touches so many lives. It does. Like, what would you tell someone, either from your perspective of having lived through it and now you're on the other side, and yours too, Christina, as someone that you love, like seeing them at the rock bottom a couple of times,
Literally dead.
Literally.
Yeah, I saw the white light.
You did.
That's it, though.
But
I'm reading a book, too, called Heaven is Real or something.
Is it the little boy?
That's one. Well, that's in it, but it's
Okay.
several stories.
Stories,
It's really
okay.
neat to. I didn't go in much further. I was it 3 minutes, I believe that
Yeah.
but seeing that white light really, wow, that was interesting and well, phenomenal. Really interesting.
Yes,
Sounded phenomenal.
right.
But if I had someone in front of me that wanted to get clean and needed the help or stop drinking, I would recommend you change your people, places, and things. There's a lot of slogans we have, but and never feeling alone is important. And some people who haven't found God yet but feel so alone, you can walk into a 12-step program in almost any city, any state, any day, and there'll be somebody in those rooms that's just like you, and you don't have to feel like you're doing it alone. Yeah, and then for people who are have someone that they love with addiction problems, guide them hopefully to that place. Guide them, take them to church, take them to meetings, but never let them borrow money. Never let them borrow money.
It's a good tip, though.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
something I wouldn't have thought about.
Yeah. And then most importantly, they should make sure they do what's best for their mental health, because people who are using and, like Christina said, aren't ready to stop. You can't let them take you down mentally as well. And that's why my mom chose, and Christina, I'm sure, chose to walk away, because it was killing my mom to see,
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Someone that you love with your whole life.
Yeah. So I think there should be more support groups, and there may be that I'm not aware of for parents who are struggling with children who have addiction, and how to help them get through it, and pray, constantly pray, and the power of prayer is amazing. And I don't know that I'd be here without it, without the people who prayed, that I would find the way. So
And God can do it.
yeah.
Yeah. And as a friend, just letting them know that you're there and pray.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and like you said, there's nothing, you can't make someone do something when they're not ready. So one thing that I think was interesting, you said you thought the near-death experience would be your rock bottom, but it wasn't. But what it was the love for your son. And like how that's a self-sacrificial, like you're self-sacrificing. Like, I'm going to give up what I want and need, or, felt like you needed, like because of the love for your son.
Yep. This life that God let me give, when I was in the hospital and I nearly lost my life, that was just me.
Yeah. That's
like,
what I'm thinking. It was just you.
Yeah,
You didn't feel like,
yeah. And I didn't appreciate myself at that time as one of God's children. It wasn't my place to take care of my body that He gave me the way I was. But when my son, when I didn't want him to have the life that, that so many kids could have, I just, as soon as he was taken away, that was my heart and soul. That was my reason, at that time for being here on this planet. And I couldn't, there's nothing I wouldn't do to fix that,
You had said multiple times in your past that you'd never felt enough. And I don't even know if you thought it, but just came to my mind while you were saying that about your son, is that I wasn't enough, but he was. So that was so cool.
He showed me unconditional love, and that's beautiful too, And I mean, he's my everything, and I'm his everything, and he's my angel. And one day he'll know.
He knows.
Yeah, he one day he'll hear this.
He already knows how cool you are.
Yeah.
His mom's an overcomer. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
and it's such a beautiful picture just of God's, like, love for us.
Yeah.
He was in every step along the way.
Yeah. Thank you.
Even at
ladies.
the lowest.
Even at the lowest. Especially at the lowest, Yeah. Thank you for sharing, both
thank
of
you
you.
for
I
your
know it's
story.
not easy, and not easy to talk, knowing that other people, strangers, people you may not know, hear your story. So we appreciate it. I know it's hard to be vulnerable.
Yeah. It is.
But it will
if it helps somebody.
It will help someone, and I just
one person,
guarantee
that's-
your story.
that's right.
Even if it's one person, I guarantee that your story will help someone or speak to them, help them have hope that like this isn't the end for them either, and
Yeah.
God still does miracles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He does.
And that's exactly what we hope for this episode, that we can provide hope for you. If you're in the situation, or if you know somebody who is in the situation, reach out. We'll help you find the resources. I don't know them offhand, but I can definitely
we
find
will
them.
figure it
for
out
sure.
and we have people who know.
Yes, we do. We have
Yeah.
friends that do. But we're happy to do that for you. And just know above all things that you are not alone, no matter what. And before then, please like this video, give it a comment down below, and subscribe. Ring the notification bell so you get notified every Tuesday when we post a new episode. And until next time, grab a shield. We'll see you out there.